Today's March 13th, 2019, and I am here to give you guys a life update and tell you guys where I've been, why I have been MIA. Some of you guys know, and I want to thank those of you who have been praying for my family and my son. But I want to let you guys know where I've been. And yeah. Okay, so I did a video for you guys February 23rd. I did a follow-up video sharing with you guys what happened with my intermittent fasting challenge, how I ended up, my weight, how I ended up with the personal goals that I had set out for me for those 7 days. I also talked about my 25-year-old Aaron. I was telling you guys about his life plans. And it's just, you know, it was just more of a follow-up from my 7-day intermittent fasting challenge. And I haven't even been able to edit that video, but I'm still going to put it up. So you're going to see that video after this. Yeah, in a couple days or so, maybe tomorrow or in a couple days. Basically, guys, on the 24th, I'm going to try to make this very, very short. But on the 24th, around 4 o'clock in the morning, my ex-husband calls my husband and tells him that my 25-year-old Aaron was in the intensive care unit at the hospital that he works at. I get to the hospital with my husband. I get to the hospital and my ex-husband was already there in the waiting room and he hadn't seen our son. So I went into the intensive care unit and, you know, you have to be buzzed in. So they buzzed me in right away, and right away the the intensive care unit doctor came, and right away when he saw me and he talked to me and he told me that my son had a grade 5 asthma attack, that he went into respiratory arrest and he coded in the emergency room and they had to intubate him. Now, my son was working. He got out at 1 o'clock in the morning. He had been feeling ill. He had been feeling sick. He had been feeling like he couldn't catch his breath. He had been battling a bad cough. Also, he has 3 jobs, or he had 3 jobs. He was moving in with some roommates, so they were in the process of getting a place. And he was in the process of transferring school to go into a program that he needs to further his medical career, so to speak. So he was doing all of this, meanwhile having this cough and not being able to shake it and getting worse. He was having to inhale with his rescue inhaler a lot more prior to these days. The first thing the doctor said to me was, we checked his brain and his brain is good. His brain is fine. So right now it's just a waiting game in terms of giving him enough sedation to be sedated, but yet not keeping him on the ventilator too long, because that's not good either. So it was just a waiting game to make sure that his lungs became strong. I was told that people who have grade 5 asthma attacks don't usually make it. 1, because either they don't get to you on time and you know your brain just can't, or 2, when they do get to you on time, your brain is damaged. Being that he was at work, and there was a lot more to it, guys, but it would make for a very long video. But believe me, he had already left work and he came back. He doesn't remember a lot of stuff. My son is also an EMT. He works for a 911 ambulance company here in Southern California. 2 of them, in fact, 2 different ones. And because they're in different counties, there's no, what do you call that? There's no conflict of interest because they're in different counties. But he knows, he said he knew when he was driving that he was losing ability from the bottom of his lungs, that he only had the ability to breathe from the top, and he knew he was in trouble. He inhaled like 8 times with his rescue inhaler and it did nothing. It was like nothing. And he could feel the lungs just shutting up and just having that little bit at the top. And he knew that if he called 911 and waited for the ambulance, he wouldn't have made it. He knew that. However, he doesn't even remember walking from the parking lot when he finally made it back to the hospital, from the parking lot to the emergency room door. After that, just getting to the parking lot, that's all he remembers. But he managed to walk, and he managed to hit the buzzard for the emergency room, and he managed to tell them like this. He was like this. That's what the people, his co-workers were telling me, that he was just like this, and they knew he was going into respiratory arrest. He did code on them while he was already laying down. He coded, and that's why they had to ventilate him, or intubate him, sorry. So I'm trying to rush through it because it was a lot that went on. He is home here with me recuperating now. This happened on the 24th. I don't remember exactly offhand when he was released, but he was in there for several days. So I'm not quite sure. But he's been with me now for a good week and a half. And oh my God, it has changed so many perspectives, so many things in my life. So many things that I thought were important are still important, but they're not at the top of the list. You know what I mean? Like, priorities sort of put everything into better perspective. For him, he went to go see his doctor yesterday, and they're going to run some more tests because he's not really convinced, because they're not sure what caused the grade 5 asthma attack. We're thinking everything in combination was the trigger, and then going out in the cold. My son cannot take anything with ibuprofen or aspirin. He cannot. He will go into a respiratory arrest with those. So he knows to stay clear, but he said he did take some Theraflu, and and they're made different. So he did tell the doctor that he had some Theraflu, and they're going to see if that was it. So they're still trying to pinpoint things out. So they're still kind of unsure, and that makes my son a little bit unsure, just because, you know, he's had asthma his whole entire life. I mean, he lived on a nebulizer machine. I mean, this is how bad, especially in the wintertime, he would be on a nebulizer machine. But yeah, anyways, so that's what happened, guys. By the grace of God and by God's mercy, he is with me. I say me because he's here, but he's with my family. We were told by the pulmonologist. He had 2 pulmonologists, the main one and then the one that covered him while the other one was out. But the second one, the one that really wasn't, like, he was just kind of covering, he was the one who told us that people with grade 5 don't really survive. And he kind of made it in reference to, like, you know, we'll still see if he'll ever come off the ventilator or the thing. And I'm like, wait, what? That one threw me for a loop, because all this time I was told, you know, it's just a waiting game to see when his lungs relax, you know. And when he told me that, I really lost it. That's when I think the first time I completely lost it, you know, with not knowing, you know. So I sort of demanded to talk to the doctor again, and he came in and he's like, no, he's strong. He's strong, and it's looking really, really good, except his lungs aren't relaxing enough for us to take him off the ventilator. But we're treating him for that, and sure enough, after he said that, it was like days after that he was off. And he got off of the ventilator, not because they took it off, but because he coughed it out. They had already been lowering the sedation on him. You know, they were lowering it down, because they even talked, because my son is so tall and big, and the sedation medication that they were giving him, he was still sort of combative, and they had him on a 4-point restraint. He doesn't remember. Again, the body just wants to take out the tube. It just wants it out. You know, it's foreign. So even though he's not aware, it's what it wants to do. So they had him on a 4-point restraint, which I had a sign for the approval of that. And which I did, because I could see him jerking a lot, wanting, you know, moving his hands a lot, moving his body. In fact, the pulmonologist, when he first saw that, he was extremely upset that they hadn't relaxed him more, you know. And he told me that if the sedations don't work, that they would actually give him a paralytic. And that frightened the kajeebies out of me. You know, I thought, oh my God, please, you know, and it finally worked. They gave him the maximum dose. They had him on morphine and some other medication, and it finally worked, and he finally was able to just stay sleeping, you know, most of the time. And finally, when they started to sort of let that loose a little bit, and they let him go from the arms restraints and leg restraints days after, he pinky promised them that he wasn't going to try to pull it out. He was more aware, he was more alert, but he would then go sleep, and he doesn't remember anything, nothing. But anyway, where was I getting? Oh, the day they were going to try to turn down the machine a little bit to see how his lungs would react. He woke up around 6 in the morning and he gave it this big cough, like this huge cough. And out came the tube that was going to his stomach, that was draining out his stomach acids and things. That came flying out. And then the tubing kind of went halfway down his throat, and he just pulled it out at that point. And so he got a little ahead of himself, but it was just the cough, the massive cough. Consequently, the reason why he hasn't been back to work, he is clear to go to work, but his eyes, there is no whites of his eyes. They're all red from the hemorrhaging in his eyes because he popped so many capillaries. And so he bursted so many capillaries in his eyes. In fact, he had a ball right in his eye. It was like big from just the massive trauma. And so to this day, his eyes are red. And he was walking around with sunglasses here at home because he didn't want his siblings to see him, and you know, because you can't even see the browns of his eyes at first. It was just all like red. So, you know, his words, he said he looked demonic, and so he didn't want his brothers and sister to see that. So he would walk around with sunglasses. But now as of today, he's got a lot of yellowing, he's got some white patches, but in the center here, like right in the frontal part, it's still pretty red. But he walks around now without glasses. He just won't go out. You know, he had to go to the bank the other day and he wore sunglasses. He goes, I hope they don't think I'm trying to disguise myself. But everything's good. Having him here has been an absolute blessing for me. It's almost been therapeutic for me. And so I put him on keto. I put him on a ketogenic diet, and he lost, since the drainage, you know, because they were pumping out his stomach while he was intubated, all of that, from the very highest point of his weight to now, he's lost 40 pounds. Unbelievable. And he's been doing keto since day one coming to this house from the hospital. He's been doing keto, and he feels amazing. He said he feels like he has energy. Anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. I did ask for his permission to talk about it. He says, yes, Mom, go for it. So, and he's here. We're going to go cook dinner together. We've been cooking together. We've been ketoing it together. We've been talking about keto and health and intermittent fasting. He's been looking at some videos that I have shown him, and now he's into them. He's really learning more about it. He finds it extremely fascinating, and it all makes sense to him as well. He said that a lot of the nurses in the emergency room that he works with are on keto themselves, and some of the doctors are on keto. So that's really, really cool. Anyways, my friends, that's it. That's where I've been. That's what's been happening. I'm so blessed to have him here with me. It's already been 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I will be back very, 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 very soon, and I will give you all my stats, my weight, what I've learned so far on my keto for me, okay, what I've learned for me, and we'll do some cooking recipes. So I have so many things planned, and just I look forward to it, guys. All right, my friends, I will see you guys very, very soon. For those of you who knew about my son and prayed, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing that for me, for praying, because prayers work, and I have him here today. I have my son today. He's got a purpose in this life. All of my kids do. My son is already out in the world. You know, the other three are still here with me and still, you know, under my wing, so to speak. But my son, he's out there. He's flying, and he's got a purpose. And I told him, God's not through with you. You have a passion for helping people. and I have a story to tell you, and I'll record it after this one because I think it's really important. All right, my friends, I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye.